Please,
and I'm begging you,
stop applying for burn pits, Agent Orange, and PACT Act. Because Agent Orange, burn pits, and PACT Act are not disabilities. They are theories of service connection. Let me tell you what you should be applying for instead and how to use Agent Orange legislation and the regulations, burn pits, and the PACT Act, as well as TARA, to get the disabilities that you're entitled to. So let's talk about the three pillars of VA disability. The first you need is an in-service event or condition. The second one you need is something wrong with you now, or a current condition or disability, in other words, right? So something has to be wrong now, like cancer, knee pain, back pain, chronic headaches, frequent urination, diabetes, cancer, etc. Third, you have to have a nexus between the two of them, right? So something in service happening, a nexus somehow connecting the dots with whatever's wrong with you right now. Burn pits, Agent Orange, and the PACT Act, and TARA, and all these other things, those are not disabilities. Those don't satisfy the what is wrong with you now question. And when you file a claim, that's what the VA is asking for. Let me say it a different way. When you file a claim, a supplemental claim or an initial claim, what you're asking for is compensation for a specific disability or disabilities and all the related stuff to that. So if you claim Agent Orange, the VA has no way of knowing whether that's diabetes, which is presumptively service-connected to Agent Orange exposure, prostate cancer, lung cancer, hypertension, ischemic heart disease. Likewise, if you apply for PACT Act, the VA doesn't know if that's asthma or colon cancer, or prostate cancer, or throat cancer, or brain cancer, or chronic sinusitis and nosebleeds. They don't know because you haven't applied for a condition. Before you apply for any particular condition, think about what is wrong and what am I asking the VA to compensate me for. Now, what are the burn pits, PACT Act, Agent Orange? These are theories, or they speak to theories of service connection. The PACT Act, for instance, the big part of the PACT Act, gives presumptive service connection to certain conditions if you were in certain locations at certain times. Now, the broad strokes of this, and there's some details, are that if you have certain types of cancers or certain types of breathing problems, and you were in the Southwest Asia theater of operations, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Qatar, Yemen, some of these other places, pretty much after 1990. And if you have these conditions now, the VA will automatically service connect them. Now, what rating you get, that's a different story, but that's what the PACT Act does. The PACT Act also does something called the Toxic Exposure Risk Assessment, which basically instructs the VA to look at, even if you weren't in any of those areas, if you've ever been exposed to anything toxic in your career, is that causing whatever the condition is that you're claiming now? So even if you were never in the Middle East, but you now have prostate cancer, the VA should be looking at the toxic exposure that you might have had during the time in service. That could have been maybe working as a machinist mate, working around volatile organic chemicals in the hull of a ship. Just an example. I don't know whether that causes prostate cancer, but that's an example how you can use the toxic exposure risk assessment. And there'll be another video on that coming forward. Likewise, Agent Orange, not a disability, but Agent Orange has been known to cause diabetes, various forms of cancer, hypertension, ischemic heart disease, Parkinson's, Parkinsonisms, various other conditions. So when you apply, when you're sitting down and you're going to apply, you have to wonder, do I have an Agent Orange presumptive condition? So if you were in Vietnam and you have Parkinson's, it should be presumptively service connected, and all the VA has to do is assess the severity of the disability. With that in mind, figure out what is it that you're applying for, right? If something's wrong with you, figure out what that term is, whatever the issue is, and figure out, okay, well, I was in Vietnam and that is now presumptively service connected to my hypertension. So when you apply for it on the application, you note that you're in Vietnam and you're applying for it secondary or related to Agent Orange exposure. But again, if you just apply for Agent Orange, the VA doesn't know if you're applying for hypertension or any other conditions. Because again, the VA is not looking to compensate you merely because you were exposed to Agent Orange. They are looking to compensate you for the disabilities that the Agent Orange caused. I'll say that again. The VA is looking to compensate you for the disability, not the actual thing that it caused. I can't tell you what particular condition you need to apply for, should have applied for, etc., until I've reviewed your file. And that is something I do with my clients, and it's a very time-consuming process. So if you have questions on what you need to apply for, find a VSO, find somebody who's knowledgeable about this, not a claims consultant, but again, figure out what you're applying for before you apply for it. So this is not any advice directly to any of you with regards to the specific things you should apply for, but just general things to think about how the VA works. With that in mind, if you've been denied your PACT Act related claim or your Agent Orange costs condition, and you were exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam and Guam or any of the other places that Agent Orange was, feel free to reach out to us and see if we can help. Likewise, if you've received a rating decision that you disagree with and it's been within the last year, reach out to us. Maybe we can help represent you before the Board of Veterans Appeals. With that said, hope this video is informative, and until next time, take care.